everybody. This is Lawrence Winterman. Welcome to another podcast of Lawrence Winterman Science Fiction. I'm excited to talk to you today about two things. The first one is my quickie review of the latest book by John Scalzi, one of my favorite authors writing today. And the other one is just some quick commentary on the chapter that I recently posted, the prologue to the first book in my series, Light Shines Through, the first book in the Shattered World series. So, welcome. This won't be particularly long, but I wanted to get my thoughts out there, and I'd love to hear what you think, so please do the things. Like, subscribe, restack, do whatever. Most of all, comment and let me know what you think about either one of these topics, or both. When the Moon Hits Your Eye, just released by John Scalzi just this past week. And I am already through finishing it, as I'm sure many of you are if you're fans of Scalzi. It's always fun to get a new release from him and dive in. I find his books very readable and can usually get through them in a couple of days. I'd hold up the book right now, except that I read all of my stuff on Kindle, and so I don't actually have the book cover. I'll include that in the links in the text of this post. Generally, I loved it. It was a fast read, really fun. I laughed, I cried. It was much better than Cats. I want to read it again and again. Joking, not joking. It was a great read. I absolutely did laugh as I was reading this. It's a book about a ridiculous concept, the moon turning into cheese unexpectedly. And I did cry. Scalzi has a great way of using whatever topic he's writing about to create characters that feel very real, and he often uses whatever ridiculousness they are dealing with in the book as kind of a hammer, a nutcracker to crack them open and to get to the gushy, emotional, human feelings and consequences through whatever device is being explored. And so even the moon turning to cheese becomes, in the hands of Scalzi, an opportunity to write some characters who really grab you by the heartstrings and have you feeling for their plight as they deal with this absolutely ridiculous circumstance. So, no spoilers. I think it's obvious from reviews and even the description of the book itself. This is a book about an absolutely ridiculous premise, the idea that the moon turns to cheese. And it is, I think, wonderfully set up and described. It reminded me a lot of Don't Look Up, a situation that is gravely dangerous about a comet on its way to smash into Earth, an extinction-level event that is greeted with chaos and lies and deception and just the absolute full range of human experience. Similarly, in When the Moon Hits Your Eye, Scalzi is showing us things that we might actually expect to happen in the modern world, in the modern American political era, in addition to characters who come from a variety of backgrounds and have very different perceptions and perspectives on what's happening and why. And I think he explores all of those. It was a really interesting use of, I don't know if there's a proper word for this, but the idea that the novel proceeds through the perspectives of a series of people, some of them related, some of them not related, very physically disparate in terms of where they're located, disparate in terms of their backgrounds and their belief systems. And many of these characters are not revisited throughout the subsequent chapters, so it's like a pastiche or a collage of this outlandish experience being told through the eyes of a variety of different people. I think it works to great effect in this, and it really serves to help propel things forward. I love structure in books or short stories and thinking about how the author has created a framework on which to hang the stories that tell the bigger story. And in this book, he's using one lunar cycle. There's a chapter for every day in a lunar cycle, and then a couple of extra chapters at the end, wink wink. And the storytelling is really effective. It's this one freak month over which this absolutely ridiculous thing happens. I won't say any more about the end of the book. You definitely need to read it for yourself. It's engaging, it's fun, it's a quick read. It'll really have you feeling a lot of different emotions. I think it's a great cap to what has been a really interesting, not trilogy, but this book and the two books that have preceded it from Scalzi have been, I think he referred to it as his Ridiculous Billionaire series, or in my mind it's just outlandishness, right? It's him having fun with these absolutely implausible or outlandish ideas. And so Kaiju Preservation Society is great, obviously dealing with the concept of big monsters, Godzilla and Mothra type monsters. The middle one is Starter Villain, which is very much about the world of villainy and really interesting and fun and just plays on what that might involve. And then this one, When the Moon Hits Your Eye, which again, about the moon turning into cheese and all of the consequences thereof. So I hope you read it. I'll provide a link in the text below this video. And please comment and let me know what you think. If you've already read it or if you pick it up based on this recommendation, I'd love to hear what you think of it. Again, Scalzi, one of my favorite authors currently writing. And I was thrilled to learn that in September we get the next installment in the Old Man's War series, which is just one of the pinnacles of space opera in the modern science fiction era. So check it out. Let me know what you think. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was the first chapter to my book, which I am excited to publish here on Substack. This is the prologue to the first book in my series. The first book is called Light Shines Through. I've entitled the whole series the Shattered World series. And this first chapter is the prologue to that first book, in which we encounter a character named João, who is a Brazilian citizen and not a particularly nice guy. João is a spy, an assassin. He is a highly political operative who has been used by the Brazilian Empire willingly. João is absolutely allegiant to Brazil and thrilled to use these skills of his to effect change in the world. What we see in 2041 in Macapá, Brazil, is, forgive me if I'm saying that wrong, Brazilian folks, please read the chapter and let me know how to say all of the words that I've used correctly. I do not speak Brazilian Portuguese or Portuguese. I have not been to Brazil, but I did a lot of research for this chapter and for this character, and I am in love with the idea of using the city of Macapá in the state of Amapá in Brazil as the base for a space elevator, because Macapá is right on the equator. And so a great location for a fictional space elevator to be built. And João, as I was saying, is a willing participant in the expansion of the Brazilian Empire and keeping the global north destabilized after the events that the Brazilians call the equilibrio, which to them is an equilibrium, a resetting event that allowed them to become the one global superpower. Of course, we learn more later in the book about how that happened and why it happened and what the overall consequences were. But in this chapter, we're learning about João, we're learning about some of the work that he's done, we're learning about him and his childhood a little bit, and we're learning about his next mission, which he is given by the director of the agency that he works for and the president of Brazil. I think it's really good setup. I'm using it to start some initial world building and to get folks used to the idea of this very changed world in 2041. I'd love to hear what you think. Again, if you speak Brazilian Portuguese or Portuguese, I'd love to hear what you think about some of the terms that I've used. If I'm wrong, please tell me. I'd be happy to edit them or change them if I've done anything wrong or offensive, although I must admit that some of the words, in fact, are intended to be offensive. I think that I have found the correct Brazilian derogatory words for certain things. I'd love to hear more about that. So, again, this is the first chapter of the book. It's a prologue. In the next chapter, we'll jump into the global north, into the North American continent, which has been shattered by a second civil war that was the result of the 2024 election going horribly, horribly awry. So we're multiverse adjacent to our current universe. It is not identical, but I've been writing this book for years, and current events caught up with me, and what started as feeling somewhat implausible in my world building and pacing now seems not just plausible, but maybe even probable. So I'd love for you to read the chapter and let me know what you think. The plan here is that every Wednesday I am going to release a new chapter of the book, publishing it here in Substack on my site, in the Shattered World series section of my site. And I would love it if people would jump in and follow along. My site is currently open to subscription for anyone, and there is not a cost for any of the materials. Perhaps if I become wildly popular, maybe I'll start adding paid content. But for now, if you do choose to subscribe at a paid level, it's really like Patreon, right? You're just helping me to exist as a writer, as a newbie science fiction writer who's trying to get my stories out into the newest sphere because I want people to read them. Obviously never been through the traditional publication channels, and I admit that I'm a little bit scared to try that, but also I really want my work out there as quickly as possible. And everything that I understand about getting a book published is that it takes literally years. So rather than have current events outpace me even more, I'm getting this story out there so that people can read it and we can either be amazed at my prescience or we can weep collectively together, or perhaps starve if civilization truly collapses, and in which case whether I got a book published or not is highly irrelevant. So anyway, please read along and let me know what you think. I hope you'll check out the John Scalzi book, When the Moon Hits Your Eye, and I hope that you will read the prologue chapter of my first novel, which I've posted online, and let me know what you think about both of those things. As always, all comments and feedback are welcome. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week when I publish Chapter 1 of the book, and I'll have a review of Mary Robinette Kowal's new novel, The Martian Contingency, which is the fourth book in her Lady Astronaut series. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Have a great week. Bye.